China has announced plans for 3 new pilot free trade zones. They will be in Beijing, in the central province of Hunan, and the eastern province of Anhui. And an existing free trade zone in Zhejiang Province will also be expanded. 21 free trade zones have been launched in China since 2013. So, what is the objective of this further expansion? And can China continue a higher level of opening up in the post-pandemic era? To find out more about Hunan's role in promoting free trade and economic growth, we talked to He Baoxiang, the Vice Governor of Hunan Province. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Zhou Yue. Vice Governor He, thank you for taking this interview. China set up 18 free trade zones since 2013. That's the beginning of Shanghai FTZ, to attract foreign investment and also to facilitate trade. And on Monday, the State Council announced another 3 more FTZs, including Hunan. So, what is your understanding of this policy?
我觉得这个中国建立自贸区啊，
I think China's establishment of a free trade zone is an important measure to further expand the opening up. In past years, China has approved 18 free trade zones, in addition to 4 new ones in Beijing, Hunan, Anhui and Zhejiang this year, which shows our firm determination to open up to the outside world. China will continue to open the door to the outside world. As a central region, Hunan has also continued to make progress on promoting foreign trade in recent years. In the past 3 years, from 2017 to 2019, the growth rate of import and export business in Hunan has led the country. Each free trade zone has its individual focus. Hunan Free Trade Zone is based on institutional innovation at the core, with a highlight on operational industrial parks and promotion of industries. We want to build a global high-end advanced manufacturing base, with special attention on facilitating our construction machinery, rail transit equipment, new materials and other fields. One of our current tasks is constructing a pioneer park to strengthen and deepen China-Africa trade cooperation.
Building a pioneer zone for China-Africa economic and trade cooperation, I know, is one of the most important tasks for Hunan. How will this project work?
China-Africa Economic and Trade Deep Cooperation Pioneer Zone is one of the 3 major tasks in the Hunan Free Trade Zone construction. After we held the first China-Africa Economic and Trade Exposition from June 27 to June 29 in 2019, we integrated the core technology of President Xi Jinping's building a closer community of destiny into the construction and implementation of the Hunan Free Trade Zone. We hope the zone will be a pioneer for China-Africa economic and trade cooperation in the future. The main tasks and our main ideas are as follows. The first is to build an innovative demonstration park in Hunan Gaoqiao Market. Inside this demonstration park, businessmen can display their products, make deals with trade partners, and do business transactions with face-to-face interaction. We hope the multi-purpose function of this park can attract more companies that would like to concentrate on Sino-African cooperation to place their headquarters in the park. Another task is to build 3 centers on behalf of the Free Trade Zone. One is the trading center of African non-resource products, which are also important in China-Africa trade. President Xi also proposed to expand the import of African non-resource products at the Comprehensive Cooperation Forum. The other center is the China-Africa Cross-Border RMB Settlement Center. This center aims at opening up more convenient channels for cross-border RMB settlement in China and Africa through innovation of business functions, financial services, and cross-border RMB business training. The third center is the residential service center for Chinese and African enterprises. We're prepared to establish a research institute focused on China-Africa trade and commerce to conduct comprehensive research on Africa, including the parts I mentioned before, through the contribution of local universities, experts and businessmen.
政府、商协会、企业，包括研究人员集合到一起，来对非洲开展一些深度的这个研究。
I know this year many FTZs, free trade zones, have prioritized the service sector that include digital economy and e-commerce. What do you think of this new trend?
On the one hand, an important task of our free trade zone is to create a strategic link between the Guangdong, Hong Kong and Macau Bay Area and the Yangtze River Economic Belt. Because of the need to open the service industry to a further degree, especially in Hong Kong and Macau, whose economy is dominated by the service sector, we want to act as a channel for investment and trade between the Bay and the Belt. On the other hand, we are undertaking the transfer of industries from coastal provinces, as well as industrial transformation and upgrading. From the current development of Hunan's service industry, we could say we have advantages and shortcomings at the same time. For example, our media and publishing are an advantage, but in general their proportion is relatively small. However, in recent years their share has grown rapidly. In 2019, the import and export of our service industry was 363.2 billion yuan. 4.6% higher compared to the growth rate of the national service industry. At present, we still feel Hunan has unlimited potential in digital economy. We've committed a lot to the digital economy in recent years. We held the Yelu Summit, which especially focused on digital economy and e-commerce. Hunan has provided a good environment for cross-border e-commerce and the entire e-commerce industry in recent years. In 2019, the total output value and turnover of our e-commerce industry reached more than 1,317 billion yuan, making e-commerce a trillion RMB industry. The growth in 2019 was 24.4% higher compared to 2018. Cross-border e-commerce has grown at a fast pace in recent years. Now, Changsha, Yueyang, Xiangtan and Chenzhou are our country's cross-border e-commerce comprehensive test areas. So the next step to expand the opening of the service industry is also one of the core tasks of Hunan FTA.
Of course, Hunan is a big province. For those people working inside the free trade zone and those who are living and working outside, what is going to be the relationship like?
Hunan's free trade zone is only about 120 square kilometers, while the area of Hunan Province is almost 212,000 square kilometers. So the question is, what shall we do to make the experiment on this 120 square kilometers work better? In other words, the free trade zone is an experimental field. We want to replicate and promote the progress inside the free trade zone to the rest of Hunan, even to the whole country. So we can build interaction between inside and outside the region. You could say that we're doing trials and tests inside the free trade zone. We are doing more replicating and promoting outside the region. With measures from both sides, we can promote the economic development of the whole region. In addition to the interaction between inside and outside the region, we also think of other aspects, including the interaction between domestic and foreign markets. Because the free trade zone has both domestic enterprises and foreign enterprises, it needs to face trade cycles both in the domestic market and on the international stage. So we think that although the free trade zone is less than 120 square kilometers, through experiment and information, this experience could be replicated in many more places to play a greater role. For example, will enterprises have motivation to enter the free trade zone early? And what kind of selection process should we set for them? What role does the government play? Now a number of enterprises already pay attention to the free trade zone in Hunan, and we have a number of enterprises which will land in Hunan Free Trade Zone soon. We hope to see more enterprises joining the Hunan Free Trade Zone. For the next step, we hope that enterprises can develop better with the help of the Free Trade Zone and enjoy more convenient services.
能够在他们的发展过程当中，能够享受到更加便捷、更加便利的这个服务。
Another question is, what is the business environment is like in Hunan Province? Because always people regard a place, whether it's business friendly or not, to consider their business decisions.
Hunan's business environment is generally good, and it is getting better, but there are still some problems. Throughout the construction of the Free Trade Zone, we'll follow the basic requirements of comparing with the highest international standards as proposed by President Xi, and be bold in making experiments, breakthroughs and changes by ourselves. In terms of that, I think, on the one hand, we still have to increase the reform of services, further simplify procedures such as the integration of multiple certificates, such as one thing at a time. This is what Hunan is currently doing. It can attract firms to Hunan and the Free Trade Zone, make the environment feel welcome. And in the process of development, it can be more and more convenient to develop. I want to provide a better environment by doing these things. We're also making plans in this area. In the overall plan, we also have a series of measures and methods corresponding to the improvement of the business environment, which are currently being gradually advanced. I think that after the reform of the Free Trade Zone, it should be said that the business environment in Hunan will get better and better in the next step. And many companies have moved to Hunan for the environment, including some in the world's top 500 and some that used to be located in coastal areas. They also took a fancy to Hunan's business environment. In addition to the policy environment, Hunan still has its advantages in hardware. First, the transportation conditions are constantly improving, including air routes, roads, railways, and waterways. We've opened more than 60 international routes with dozens of countries in the world. Our China-Europe Express and the small Europe Express have been opened. We can connect to nearly 30 countries in Europe. The waterway has also opened. The water transport relay routes from Africa to ASEAN and Australia are getting more and more convenient. In addition, Hunan has a very good investment environment for some new enterprises, for entrepreneurial and innovative enterprises. Housing prices are not high. The happiness index is relatively high, and there are many universities in Hunan that can provide a variety of talents and meet all kinds of talent needs. Therefore, the environment for innovation and entrepreneurship in this area is quite good. We think it should be said that through the construction of the Free Trade Zone, the business environment will definitely get better and better.
在这一块，创新创业的环境也还是不错的。我们想，应该说通过自贸区的这个建设呀，营商环境一定会越来越好。
The regional economic disparity, especially between the eastern and the western parts of China, that marks one of the most pressing problems for this country. And Hunan is located in the transitional zone between the coastal and the inland areas. So what is Hunan's plan to play as a bridge between the underdeveloped west and the developed east?
这些年呢，我们也把很多的精力就投在。
In recent years, we put some effort into undertaking industrial outsourcing from coastal areas.
包括电子信息啊。
Now we see a group of enterprises, including telecoms, light industry, automobiles, transferring to Hunan.
都在向湖南转移。 在这个转移的过程当中呢
In the process, Hunan gets another opportunity to improve its advantage as a transition zone between the east and central areas.
结合部的这种优势，然后一方面 加速我们自己的这个发展。一方面
For the process of industrial development in Hunan, on the one hand, it has attracted some people from the western region to come to Hunan for employment. On the other, for example, some of our leading industries opened factories in the west. For example, Anhui has set up a branch factory in Zhejiang, and we also have some light industrial products in Xinjiang, Tibet, and other western regions. So I think the development of the central region can really play a role as connecting the east and the west.
According to the customs, despite the impact of COVID-19, Hunan's import and export trade still ranked third in the country for the first half of this year, 2020. And ASEAN now has become Hunan's biggest trading partner, and trade increased with 10 countries by 33% from January to August. So what accounts for the rapid growth of Hunan's trade with outside world?
这个湖南的对外贸易的这些年应该说是处在一个持续健康。
The foreign trade of Hunan is developing at a fast and sustainable pace. From 2017 to 2019, the growth rate of our foreign trade was always in the leading position among all provinces of the country. For trade with the Belt and Road Initiative countries, our average annual growth rate is more than 44%. Regarding the growth of foreign trade in Hunan, on the one hand, we focus on some key markets, such as the ASEAN market, because Hunan is relatively close to ASEAN geographically. We also have a lot of Hunan people who work in ASEAN countries, such as Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. Therefore, we always regard the ASEAN market as one of our main target markets and put resources into exploring more collaboration opportunities with them. Right now, our cooperation includes industrial products exported from Hunan to ASEAN and agricultural products exported from ASEAN to Hunan. We also seek more collaborative projects in manufacturing and agriculture. We've done a lot of work in these areas. On the other hand, we don't want to miss the diversified market of the whole world. We have to realize that Chinese products are in demand in various countries of the world. The market holds enormous potential. So you can see, our trade with countries along the Belt and Road Initiative and with African countries has grown rapidly in recent years. We keep knocking on doors to open up more new markets. And third, we need to retain the traditional markets, such as the United States, Europe and Japan, and the whole North American market. In fact, after the trade war between China and the United States, small parcel delivery still flourishes among cross-border e-commerce. For the e-commerce between China and the U.S., the deliveries mainly go through Hunan to enter the U.S. Most of the deliveries are daily necessities. Although the bilateral trade has encountered some friction due to the trade war, among cargo planes from Hunan to the U.S., those carrying small parcels were almost full every time. It's like the saying, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Even though the trade environment is not as optimistic as we want, if you do research on market segmentation and you spend time working on one tiny subfield, you can make some progress.
And I know that President Xi visited Hunan last week. He asked your province to achieve high-quality development, become a leader in advanced manufacturing as part of reform and opening up. And he also emphasized the importance of innovation. So what is your understanding of the messages?
在这个先进制造业这一块。
In the advanced manufacturing industry, Hunan has some foundation. We have 20 advanced industrial chains, such as construction machinery, rail transit equipment, and new materials, which have been the key of Hunan's industry for many years. Through many years' effort, some industries have grown to a relatively large scale. For example, in construction machinery, we have Sani, Zhonglian, Anhui Intelligent, and China Railway Construction Heavy Industry, all in the top 50 in the world. We've also made great progress in rail transit, but some industrial chains are still in the process of development. Therefore, we feel that we have to keep working hard to build a nationally important advanced manufacturing high point. In terms of scientific and technological innovation, Hunan has created super high-speed computers, super hybrid rice, and rail transit. But regarding the request made by the President, we think there is still a gap. The next step is to further strengthen scientific and technological innovation, especially in accordance with the President's proposal to have core competitiveness of scientific and technological innovation. In recent years, the provincial government of Hunan has always regarded innovation as the leader of openness as our development strategy. So innovation and openness are the top priority in Hunan's development. A large number of scientific and technological achievements are emerging, and our high-tech enterprises have exceeded 6,000. The development speed of these years is still very fast, and the proportion of high-tech in the industry is also increasing. So for the next step, we want to work hard to implement the requirements of the 3 high points from the President.
要落实好总书记这3个高地的要求，湖南还要继续努力。
So for those businesses to climb up the ladder of innovation, what kind of challenges do they face?
我们觉得呢，现在事实上最
If there are any difficulties in terms of funds, talent and policies, I think the biggest challenge now is how to better improve the barriers between industry, education and research. Yes, there are many scientific research achievements in the laboratory, but they have not been transformed into actual productivity. So the blockage of production, teaching and research needs to be solved. On the other hand, we think there are still some difficulties in policy support, financing services and other mechanisms. So we also want to emphasize breaking the difficult points, unchoking the block points and focusing on the key points, in order to facilitate scientific and technological innovation to become an important pivot point to support our high-quality development.
I know that as China's manufacturing powerhouse, Hunan is home to many leading producers of construction machinery, including Zoomlion and Sanyi Heavy Industry Group. But the COVID-19 outbreak has obviously hit manufacturing very hard. How did Hunan cope with the impact, and how can Hunan continue to leverage its competitive edge in the manufacturing industry and accelerate private enterprises development?
这个制造业是湖南3个过万亿的产业之一，其中
Manufacturing is one of the 3 trillion RMB industries in Hunan. The advanced manufacturing industry, represented by construction machinery and rail transit, weighs heavier and heavier in Hunan's economic development. Under the influence of the pandemic, it should be said that the manufacturing industry also faces some challenges, such as the problems associated with the supply chain and industrial chain. We think what we should do is to learn some lessons from this epidemic, such as for problems in the supply chain, industry chain of key components. Crucial shortcomings still need to be solved, and we need to make up for the shortcomings and keep strengthening in the long term. We should continue to work hard in these areas.
它创造的这个税收超过了50%，创造的 GDP 超过了60%。 提供的科技成果超过了70%，提供的新增的就业
In fact, the private economy also occupies a very important position in Hunan. It has created more than 50% of the tax revenue, more than 60% of the GDP, more than 70% of the scientific and technological achievements, and more than 80% of the new employment. The number of private enterprises also account for more than 90% of the total enterprises in Hunan. The private economy in Hunan is developing at a sustained and healthy pace, but at present there are also some problems. We see problems such as the glass doors, spring doors and revolving doors occurring sometimes. Many policies cannot reach private enterprises, especially the small and medium enterprises. So the next step we want to take is to increase reform, to facilitate the main body of the market, enterprises, to act a better role, and to grow more smoothly in the market conditions.
特别是实体经济，能够在市场条件下 更好的去发挥作用，能够让他们呢能够活得更
On the
痛。
one hand, we increase the reform at the policy level. On the other hand, we unchoke the blocking points and make up for shortcomings in the supply chain and industrial chain in order to provide a better business environment for enterprises. At the same time, financial services could facilitate the market to play an important role in the allocation of resources.
这样的话，能够让他们更好的去发展，同时在金融服务，在这些方面能够有一个更好的 这个发展的环境，让市场在资源配置当中真正发挥起主要的作用。
China is now embracing what we call a dual cycle path connecting domestic and international economic development. And from your perspective, how does boosting domestic demand balance with continuing reform and opening up?
这个我是这么认为的。
I think while China's economic volume increases, we will make some corresponding adjustments in the traditional ways of development. In the past, our total volume was very small, and there was a lot of room in the external market. Now our total volume is the second largest economy in the world. If we do not expand domestic demand and rely solely on foreign demand to drive economic growth, this is obviously unsustainable.
这显然是不可持续的。当然，同时我们也要
At the same time, we should try our best to continue to explore international markets so that more high-quality Chinese products can go to the world to meet the international demand. I think this is a mutually beneficial process for both China and the world.
确实是一个相互促进的这么一个过程。
And those areas obviously in the consumption and they belong to the demand side. What about the supply side? There is some speculation that the Chinese supply chain will rely more on the domestic circulation and keep a distance from the international system. What do you say?
我认为这个不太可能。 一方面，我们确实要在关键环节。
I don't think that's possible. On the one hand, we do need to improve the supply standard and supply capacity of our industrial chain in key parts. But at the same time, as I said earlier, no country or no industry can be closed today. They will inevitably require the division of labor and cooperation of the whole world. So we will need this kind of support from the international community, and we will also support other countries in the world. The international market will be a place in which everyone is integrated with one another.
And what are your expectations and outlook for the Hunan Free Trade Zone?
这个我们希望，湖南自贸区。
We hope that Hunan Free Trade Zone will contribute to the development of Hunan and to our country in the future, as well as building a high point of reform and opening up in the inland areas. I hope it can be a new pillar of growth for Hunan's economic development in the future.
好，谢谢你，谢谢你，窦省长，谢谢。